in the last few years, how Nippon has improved its research capabilities. Just if you can shed some light on it. In addition to that, I would also like to know, how Nippon Life is helping. Are they helping on your research side and other research capabilities? If so, how?
It's an interesting question. So let me answer that. I think a lot has changed. So I am here in this organization for 13 years, but the kind of changes in research processes and communication I have seen over the last 3.5 years is at a different level. So at a research level, I think there's more skin in the game now for a typical research analyst versus the past. All our research analyst KPIs are aligned to the fund objectives. All of these KPIs are measurable. Because as a philosophy, we have come to the terms that if it is not measurable, cannot be monitored properly. So it has to be measurable and monitorable. Its transparency is immense, objectivity immense. There is a clear philosophy. Their research team has to own they have to have ownership of their decisions, and if their decisions are right, there has to be a mechanism where we reward them properly. So we have come up with there is a sense of empowerment to the research team. We've introduced a lot of processes where a research analyst, apart from doing a very in-depth research, uh, tend to kind of wear the hat of a fund manager also. So we have a process like model portfolio, for example, where a typical research analyst would have to beat his or her coverage, whatever 2-3 sectors he or she covering. And over the time, medium to long term, he or she have to identify more winners where he or she can be overweight versus where she can be underweight. It's a monthly process, rules are laid out. Similarly, we have a process called super ideas, and this is a fantastic concept where we give 2 or 3 opportunity over the 2-3 year period to all analysts, wherein they can pitch their highest conviction ideas. The 2-3 ideas they may have, where the hurdle is that they have to the fund manager should double their money in 3 or 4 years period. So highest conviction ideas they give, if 10, 11, 12 analysts give such 3-4 ideas, where they can double. This is an immense help, and we reward the analysts, and more fund managers actually buy those ideas, reflect in their portfolio. So such processes are definitely making a difference, making analysts more aligned to the fate of our different scheme. And obviously, I'm repeating here, but I think truly and truly, this is about having the skin in the game. Apart from that, there has been massive progress, sir, if I may say, has been made on the process and technology side. Systems that we have made. We have made a very, very robust and unique knowledge management system where you can find all our research, all our broker research, all our meeting notes, models, etc. In at one place. We are using technology for identifying doing the sentiment analysis, news flow analysis. So a lot of use of technology and processes. Apart from that, we get a lot of support from our parent Nippon. That's what you asked. So research, obviously, they provide us input, but more than research, I think a lot of input are coming on the fund management side from our parent. There is a concept of fund casing. One area where we are really working on to improve the consistency of our scheme's performance. And this is where I think they're helping us a lot in terms of providing us inputs, how to have a very strong fund casing where research analyst inputs are taken and the best practices coming from Japan and SI that has been incorporated. And I think that's where, it's a great coordination with them. With their support, we are fine tuning those fund casing, risk management kind of processes, and really grateful for them. And I think it's just a beginning. I think more and more support and knowledge sharing should happen over time.
Very good, very good. Yeah, and I think I visited your office in Mumbai. It's in one India Bull Center, I think, if I'm right.
We have shifted to another office, which is nearby, but you are right. We had an office there.
Yeah. So I saw the checks you have put in for the research team or the dealers, etc., etc. If you can shortly, just for the viewers, how safely and securely you are running this organization, because there are a lot of regulatory requirement also that you have to comply. That, say, for example, a research guy or a fund manager or a dealer cannot should not attend a phone or should not take a mobile phone. Something if you can share just for the viewers, what are those?
I think these practices are there for very long now. So, uh, dealer, as you said, no dealer have access to any private device or anything. Only the recorded device lines are there in the dealing room. Even when we are working from home, these things are. Order management is completely online, seamless. There is no involvement of any order placement over phone or something. It is through a system. That efficiency is there, that transparency is there. Um, we cannot use our private phones during market hours. So all communication happens through emails during the market hours. Any meeting we tend to attend or something has to be recorded and has to be placed at the right place. So there is zero tolerance of any kind of compliance breach. Our compliance team is doing phenomenal job, to be honest, in terms of having those rules, getting all of us educated about knowingly, unknowingly getting into those things. One last thing I would say, we are not allowed to buy or even ask for the permission for any of the 520 stocks which are there in our coverage. None of them.
Okay.
None of us can even, the system will not accept. So individual investing is not encouraged in that sense. So we can invest in mutual funds, but not in direct stocks, because all 520 stocks, either us or our spouses or families or friends, I think no one can buy that. And there is an arm length difference in these pledges that we have to take and abide by them. So I think there are lots and lots of strong risk management practice. And this is not new, sir. I mean, obviously these regulations are coming now, but we have been practicing these risk management, transparent policies for a very long period now.
True, true, true. Yeah, that no, just say like why I am bringing up this question is so like if you take cinema industry or any other industry,
Yeah.
they post themselves of so many things. Even for the smallest thing, they give award. They talk about too much. But here we are, in the finance industry, we are so following so many ideas, so many things, so strict about the things. I just wanted to take these to the retail investor so that they can feel more.
This confidence is very, very important for retail guy who's giving us the opportunity to
Manage
utilize or a savings. So that responsibility, fiduciary responsibility is a great blessing, and we have to perform to the in a most with the highest integrity possible.
True, true, true. Agree. And coming back to the research side, say like I have two questions. One is, which segment of the research is more challenging? Either it is large cap, mid cap, or small cap. So that is on the segment side. And on the other side, which sector you have found challenging to do research? Say like it's like a technology company, online company, because traditional businesses you may be knowing more parameters, more things, etc., etc. But on the not so traditional area, we have to yet to develop the research capability. Just wanted to understand in these two respects.
So I would say first question is about what kind of size basket is difficult. So small cap, mid cap, large cap. Sir, actually, all three are slightly different. If I may say, small cap actually require more rigor because you get lesser support, lesser from the brokers or sell side because the coverage is very less. Versus a sell side where there's no dearth of coverage. You get a lot of information, a lot of access, the best of the brains which are there. But the challenge there is that because they are so widely covered, there are hardly any opportunity to have a differentiated performance. So to eke out alpha from a large cap, you need to identify those inefficiencies, and they're becoming fewer and fewer, lower and lower. So there's no liberty to relax as far as large cap investing is concerned, irrespective of the resources at your disposal. In a small cap, you can definitely make more differentiation if you work hard, if you have more bandwidth. That's where you can identify more alpha opportunities. But it's difficult to do because you have to do you're on your own. You have to fend on your own, and you don't get a lot of support. So there's a lot of on the ground independent work that you need to do. But that's rewarding. There is another space, which is mid cap space, which is somewhere in between, where I think the coverage is pretty much there, and from the sell side you get support. And there is some mispricing also, time to time, because they are not as well covered as large cap. So I would say, on a relative basis, I personally find doing the research on mid caps, because they're exactly similar in terms of numbers. So hardly 150 companies, wherein large caps is 100. So number of companies are not like 300, 400, 500, the finite number of companies, and you get resource from help from the sell side. At the same time, there is scope to add additional, alpha, or you can identify
Sure.
some of these inefficiencies because they are not well covered. So between the three, I would say midcap is relatively easier, but all three of them have their own set of challenges. The other question you asked about,
The
sorry,
sector,
if you can repeat that.
traditional versus upcoming sectors. I mean,
Yeah,
which
upcoming sector sets difficult. It is difficult at two levels. One, the subject itself is new, like these new platform, new companies which are coming, and almost every sector is getting disrupted, like fintech, etc. So, the problem is to understand them, their future potential. Second problem comes in terms of how to value them. These are not the easy businesses to value because there's no past templates. The biggest problem happens in terms of typically they are growth sectors and they are a long-term growth, and they don't come cheap. Over time these growth stock become value stock, but you have to allow time, right? This is more like a private equity kind of investing mindset that you require. So the problem happens, more experience you have of covering a conventional set of companies, or either a fund manager or analyst, uh, the mental blockage of how to value them versus something which is available at a fair value, whatever you understand as fair value. So I think that I think the fundamental challenge, that how to value them, and can you buy something which is more expensive because it has more potential, but to take that next leap, beyond understanding the business. I think that is a bigger challenge, both for the research analyst as well as for the fund manager. But I think it is inevitable. If you want to survive, and more, there are 100 unicorns which are more than $1 billion companies, and they will get listed, right? And if you don't create expertise on those, and they are coming in all kinds of sectors from autos to fintech, you may be obsolete as a research analyst or fund manager. So you have to learn and relearn and unlearn at the same time. So that's not going to be easy, but I think there's no choice when it comes to that.
no, even so, like the biggest investors, like even Warren Buffett,
Yeah.
people like them, they miss big opportunities. He's a great guy. He has great potential, but he himself says, say those things that we missed a big when Google offered him to buy, and a substantial stake, or some other companies offered them to buy substantial stake, because he is clear with his ideas and thoughts. There is no doubt. But also there is, yes, a side which says that I would have participated, I could have participated
Yeah.
if we had known that. So that is a
Yes.
challenge. That is a challenge. Every field has some kind of challenge. And
Completely.
in general, say like whenever, whatever I do, whatever I say, or whatever you do, there will be there is a thing called, say like we say, okay, I have been right on here, and I have missed these things.
Yeah.
So if you have to put a percentage generally between, say like it could be 80-20, 70-30, between the companies that you cover and they are very successful, that you are very, joyful on seeing the results, what
Yeah.
percentage you would put, if at all?
So it's difficult because there's no 1%, and success rate keeps changing over time. But I would say there is one parameter we have with us. As I said, we have this process called model portfolio, where we look at both large cap and mid cap universe, and our team put together as one team and to outperform these benchmarks. The large cap and mid cap benchmark. There, if I would say that, and it's 3.5-year-old process, and we have outperformed, consistently outperformed on a 1 year and 3 year basis, both in the large cap and particularly on the mid cap side. In the last 1 year also, where most funds which are in the mid cap side would have found it very, very difficult to outperform, our mid cap portfolio has materially outperformed the benchmark. So I think it's a great sign of success, that research team is making the right calls, right progress. And this is one way to measure. And obviously, there are other ways we measure that in terms of the super idea accuracies, the technical ideas accuracies. So, but yeah, I mean, if I go by the model portfolio, constantly beating the benchmark, I think it's definitely more than 50% success rate, and it is consistent. So I'm happy. I mean, in this game, if you are right 60% of the time and you seize those opportunities, you can be way ahead of the crowd. So mistakes do happen, but you have to just minimize mistake and you are through. So I think we are doing good job this.
Very good, very good. And I mean, there is no doubt about it because I think even last time I compared one of your funds, Midcap Fund. So you were right on saying that we have very good capability in midcap research.
Yeah, yes.
So I told how
Yeah.
gold has become say like 1 lakh has become 10 lakh in the last 25 years, and how this Nippon Growth Fund, earlier Reliance Growth Fund, 1 lakh has become more than 1.5 crores.
Yes, sir. I mean, between large cap and mid and small cap, I think the proportion of our AUM and the kind of scheme tilt we have, I think we take pride in the breadth of our coverage of mid and small cap universe, and that's what is getting reflected. If there is an upcycle, we are always there to participate in that. So over the long term, we've been successful, and fingers crossed. I think hopefully with the rigor and passion and focus we have, we should be able to deliver result even in the times to come.
Definitely, definitely. Congratulations to you and your team. And with that thing, just we are just coming to a closure of that discussion.
Yes.
So just I want to ask one more question. Say like there are a lot of people, even in Tamil Nadu, there are a lot of colleges with MBA, and you have a lot of MBA graduates, business graduates coming out, or CA graduates, whatever it is. So they all, equity research enthralls them. It brings a big joy for an youngster. So many of them want to make a career out of equity research. So what is your advice for those people to get into equity research, and how are the opportunities currently?
First of all, it's more glamorous than what you. It looks more glamorous from the outside, but it's actually far more challenging and rigorous when you actually start doing it. I think few qualities which is needed, to my mind, includes you have to be patient and you have to be constant learner. I mean, these are the two foremost qualities, because you can have educational background, technical expertise, those things apart. But I think more than intellectual analytical game, to my mind, research or investing is an emotional game, sir. That I think an analyst or a person who wants to join, he or she may have a lot of enthusiasm, but in reality, I think it takes 5 to 10 years, and sometimes 10 years, to look at a cycle or two for you to become really competent, mostly from the behavioral or emotional perspective, to behave in the right manner at different point of the cycle. So I think obviously analytical skills are important, but two skills, if I have to look at one or two skills, is obviously uh, constant question, and most importantly, patience. I think someone who's has patience, and I think it's very necessary to succeed in this game. So it's easier and said than done. And Warren Buffett keeps saying that investing is simple, it's not easy. Once you come in on this side and you start doing it, you realize how tough it is. So if you just think that it's all about identifying multipliers and all that, I mean, it's just one part of the story. The bigger part that comes with lots of hard work and lots of emotional journey that you have to undergo to become a competent analyst.
Good, good, good. One question just coming off my mind. If you open websites or any investing website or public websites, many of them, they promote technical analysis to make billions, millions every day. You earn 1 lakh, 2 lakh. A lot of retail investors are getting into it. If I am right, you are more into fundamental research, and
Yes.
most of the fund houses are into fundamental research.
Yes.
Majorly, they rely upon fundamental research. So
yeah.
How do you compare yourself with the technical research? I don't believe technical research so much. That is my personal opinion. I mean, it has its own things, own validity, etc. But what is your take on it?
So to be honest, as a house, as you rightly said, we are into fundamental research. But I personally think that, there can be multiple ways to generate wealth. Um, Technical comes with a very different set of understanding tools, etc., which we as a team does not understand or possess, right? So I can't comment on that. But when we analyze the wealth creators across the world, you will find a quant guy, at the top of the list, right? Renaissance, Jim Simmons, right? So I think ultimately nirvana, attaining the financial goals, the creating wealth, there can be various paths. So you should be true to your path. I would only say if you're doing fundamental or technical, you can even combine the two, but you should have real expertise. It cannot be a half-hearted effort, with whichever field you opt for. But yes, fundamental is more intuitive, um, and that's why it entices more to the intellectual class. Technical is more behavioral, and I think people should be mindful that you cannot learn wealth creation in 2 3 months. That I can assure you, whichever field. And in bull market, everything looks good, but most of the mistakes also happen in the bull market. So one needs to be cognizant of that, and it's a full-time job. So if you can't do it, don't try to do it part-time. Give your money to someone who's doing it full-time, or take the help from the right advisor. Um, Albeit it may cost you a small fees, but I think it cannot be done half-hearted.
True, true. Anyway, thanks for sharing so much information and sharing your knowledge with our viewers. Just one thing, any personal information as Ashutosh Bhargava, what he does, how his family, where he puts his money, what is his hobby, anything if you want to share, I leave it to you.
Sir, I come from a very humble background. Come from a family of doctors. Um, I'm here in Mumbai. I complete my post graduation here. I'm here in the city for last 18 years. Studied here and then 16 years working, 14 years in old Reliance and now Nippon in this organization. So uh, have been kind of married to this organization for so long. I've enjoyed my time here. I started as an economist at JP Morgan, and now I wear 2 3 different hats and really enjoying my time. As far as my interest goes, obviously, last 1 year I started tweeting, which I never did, and I'm finding it really exciting to do that. As far as family is concerned, I have 2 wonderful kids, very very supportive wives, so no complaints on that side. And yeah, I actually one area where I want to really excel over time or is called multi-factor investing, or it's a part of quant investing. And I want to really make my mark in the area of asset location and rule-based investing over the time to come. And uh, for me, it's just a beginning. I think I've just scratched the surface and long way to go there. So really glad I'm getting the opportunity at Nippon. People are very supportive, but I have a long way to go.
Very good, very good. And I think you are managing one of those multi-asset funds.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good, very good. Thanks for your time, Ashutosh, and congratulations for whatever you do, and very good, the great job that you people are doing and managing investors' money. Lakhs, and if I'm right, about 100 lakh, 1 crore folios Nippon Mutual
Yes, sir.
Fund
Yes,
has
sir.
nowadays. So the people have put a big faith on Nippon and other fund houses.
Absolutely. We are privileged.
Yeah, thanks.
Very, very thankful.
Thanks for the wonderful job, and thanks for the discussion and devoting your time. Probably we'll meet sometime in person.
Absolutely, sir. It will be my pleasure, and hopefully, this tough time, the challenging time, we all of us put together can overcome very soon. And I look forward to meet you. And in the meantime, I wish you the very best, and be safe and healthy. And I'm sure we'll meet very soon, sir. So
Sure.
all the best to all your viewers. And my request to all of them is to stay safe and see you all of you on the other side of this pandemic. So thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.